In 2019, the Atlanta Police Department welcomed Nia Caldwell, a 22-year-old recruit who graduated with top honors from the police academy. Born to Jamaican immigrants James and Patricia Caldwell in Decatur, Georgia, Nia displayed remarkable potential from her early days in the Southeastern Precinct, serving areas like Grant Park and East Atlanta Village. Before joining the force, Nia had already faced significant life challenges. At 19, she gave birth to twins, Marcus and Maya, while earning her criminal justice degree at Georgia State University. Despite the difficulties of single motherhood, she maintained a 3.8 GPA and graduated on schedule, driven by her desire to create a stable future for her children. During her initial training at the Atlanta Police Department, Nia met Deshaun Murphy, a 26-year-old officer with 3 years of experience. Deshaun, who had transferred from the Mon Police Department, served as a field training officer. Originally from Chicago and raised in Georgia, Deshaun had proven himself as a capable officer with a promising career ahead. Their professional relationship quickly deepened during the 12-week training period, as Nia was inspired by Deshaun's confidence and commitment to law enforcement. By December 2019, they began dating, initially keeping their relationship private to maintain professional boundaries. Their shared experiences on evening patrol shifts in the Southeastern District brought them closer. In March 2020, as the COVID-19 pandemic began, Nia and Deshaun moved in together in a townhouse in Glenwood Park, Atlanta. This decision seemed logical, given their growing relationship and the practical benefits for Nia's children. Deshaun initially showed a genuine interest in Marcus and Maya, who were 3 years old, assisting with childcare and contributing to their upbringing. By early 2021, concerning behavioral patterns began to emerge in Deshaun. Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez, Nia's direct supervisor, noticed shifts in Nia's previously outgoing demeanor. Although Nia's performance remained exceptional, her interactions with colleagues became more reserved. Nia's regular patrol partner overheard several tense phone calls between Nia and Deshaun during shifts. The situation worsened when Deshaun requested a transfer to Nia's shift rotation, despite departmental policies against such arrangements for romantic partners. While the transfer was denied, Deshaun frequently appeared at the precinct during Nia's shifts, citing various professional reasons. Internal Affairs later recorded these visits as unauthorized, raising concerns about their potential disruption to operations. Despite these growing concerns, Nia remained committed to the relationship. After the tragic events of 2023, Nia's mother, Patricia, revealed that Nia had argued with Deshaun over his increasing possessiveness, but had remained hopeful of improving things for the sake of her children, who had grown close to Deshaun during their 2 years together. By late 2021, official police records show that Nia had begun discreetly documenting Deshaun's behavior, keeping a detailed log of incidents that made her uncomfortable. These records would later be vital to the investigation, revealing a pattern of controlling behavior, such as monitoring her phone calls, questioning her about male colleagues, and showing up unannounced at her assigned patrol areas. Throughout her early career, Nia maintained an excellent service record, responding to over 500 calls and earning multiple commendations for her work in community outreach. She specialized in domestic violence cases, showing exceptional sensitivity and skill in assisting victims, an ironic expertise given her personal experiences. Throughout 2022, Deshaun's controlling behavior toward Nia reached alarming levels. Police records document several incidents where Deshaun showed up unannounced during Nia's patrol shifts. Fellow officers witnessed him questioning Nia about her daily activities and expressing unwarranted suspicion regarding her interactions with male colleagues. In September 2022, Nia responded to a routine call involving heavy equipment at a construction site in downtown Atlanta, where she met Malik Benson, a 32-year-old business owner specializing in construction equipment rental. Malik, a widower raising his 8-year-old daughter Sophia, had lost his wife to cancer 3 years earlier. Their initial interaction was purely professional, as Nia assisted with documenting an equipment theft. Over the following weeks, Malik crossed paths with Nia during her patrols. Their conversations revealed shared experiences as single parents and aligned values regarding family and career. Malik's calm demeanor and respectful attitude contrasted sharply with the escalating tension in Nia's home life with Deshaun. By November 2022, Deshaun's behavior had grown more erratic. He began tracking Nia's movements through her phone's location services, confronting her about small schedule changes and demanding explanations for any deviation from her routine. Several officers from neighboring precincts reported seeing Deshawn follow Nia's patrol car during shifts. During this time, Nia found herself confiding more in Malik about her domestic issues. Their friendship provided Nia with a model for healthy relationships that she had been missing. Malik shared his own experiences of loss and healing, helping Nia recognize the signs of emotional manipulation in her relationship with Deshawn. December 2022 marked a significant escalation in Deshawn's behavior. After discovering text messages between Nia and Malik on her phone, Deshawn confronted her at their home, resulting in a heated argument that caused neighbors to call the police. Although no formal report was filed, this incident marked a turning point for Nia. In early January 2023, Nia began planning her escape. She opened a separate bank account, secured a new apartment in a different district, and confided in Lieutenant Rodriguez. The lieutenant assisted Nia in documenting the situation and connecting her with domestic violence resources within law enforcement. In January, Nia's relationship with Malik began to shift from friendship to romance. Both agreed to proceed cautiously due to the volatile situation with Deshawn, but Malik's steady support provided Nia with the emotional strength to make her final decision. On February 1st, 2023, Nia executed her planned departure while Deshawn was on duty. She moved her and her children's belongings to their new apartment, leaving Deshawn a letter formally ending the relationship and requesting no contact. The letter was later recovered as evidence and clearly outlined her wishes for a clean break. Deshawn initially responded calmly, but his behavior quickly worsened. He sent multiple text messages daily, alternating between apologies and accusations. Surveillance footage from Nia's new apartment complex showed Deshawn driving by the building multiple times during his off hours. Nia documented each unwanted encounter, creating a comprehensive record of Deshawn's behavior, which she shared with her superiors and trusted colleagues. This pattern of harassment would later be crucial in understanding the events that followed. In the weeks after her separation from Deshawn, Nia began to rebuild her life. Her new apartment in Atlanta's Eastern District offered a fresh start for her and her twins. Malik Benson became a regular part of their lives, often bringing his daughter Sophia to join Marcus and Maya for weekend activities. The children, now 6 years old, quickly bonded over shared interests in sports and art. Nia's colleagues noticed an improvement in her demeanor during this period, and her performance evaluations from February 2023 reflected increased confidence and engagement in her police work. She took on additional responsibilities in community outreach and volunteered for youth mentorship programs within the department. Meanwhile, Deshawn's mental health deteriorated rapidly. His supervisor noted several instances of aggressive behavior, including unnecessary confrontations with civilians. Department records show that he took personal time to conduct unauthorized surveillance of Nia's new home and Malik's business locations. On February 10, 2023, Deshawn showed up at Nia's precinct during her shift, creating a scene in the parking lot. He demanded details about her relationship with Malik and had to be escorted away by fellow officers. Despite this incident, Nia chose not to file formal charges, fearing retaliation and the impact on their professional lives. Between February 11th and 17th, Deshawn sent Nia 78 text messages and attempted to contact her through various social media platforms. The messages, later retrieved by investigators, showed a disturbing shift from pleading to threatening. Deshawn repeatedly demanded explanations regarding Nia's relationship with Malik and made veiled threats about consequences if she did not respond. During this time, Malik displayed remarkable patience and understanding, supporting Nia's decision to proceed carefully and prioritize the children's emotional well-being. The couple maintained their normal routines, including family dinners and weekend outings, while taking extra security measures. On February 15th, Deshawn began questioning mutual friends about Nia's schedule and activities. He often parked his personal vehicle near her patrol routes and was seen following her during shift changes. Several officers reported these incidents, which led to an informal counseling session where Deshawn was advised to seek professional help. The situation escalated further when Deshawn accessed confidential department scheduling records on February 17th, discovering that Nia had requested time off for the upcoming weekend. Through continued surveillance, he learned of a planned family trip to Savannah with Malik and the children. This discovery triggered a violent reaction from Deshawn. Witnesses at the precinct reported seeing him punch a locker and engage in an intense phone call. Later that evening, he purchased additional ammunition for his service weapon and withdrew a significant amount of cash from his bank account. On February 18th, Deshawn conducted surveillance at Nia's apartment complex while off duty. Security cameras captured him circling the parking lot several times and attempting to access the building through a service entrance. That evening, he made several phone calls to Nia, leaving increasingly agitated voicemails about her planned trip with Malik. By the morning of February 19th, Deshawn had formulated a plan. He called in sick for his shift and spent hours parked near Nia's apartment, observing her as she prepared for the weekend trip. Police later recovered a notebook from his vehicle containing erratic writings about betrayal and revenge, along with detailed observations of Nia's daily schedule. At 2:15 p.m. on February 19th, surveillance cameras captured Deshawn's arrival at Nia's apartment complex. He parked his personal vehicle, a black Ford Explorer, in the guest parking area and walked directly to Nia's third-floor apartment. At the time, Nia was home with her twins, Marcus and Maya, getting ready for their trip to Savannah, while Malik was attending a business conference in Charleston. Neighbors reported hearing Deshawn pounding on Nia's door around 2:20 p.m. Initial witness statements suggest Nia opened the door and immediately instructed her children to go to their room. What began as a heated conversation quickly escalated into shouting. Mrs. Dorothy Williams, who lived in the adjacent apartment, heard Deshawn demanding an explanation about Nia's relationship with Malik. The verbal exchange continued for about 10 minutes, with multiple residents hearing Nia repeatedly ask Deshawn to leave and threatening to call the police. At 2:32 p.m., the first gunshot was fired, and within the next 40 seconds, 7 more shots rang out, prompting several neighbors to call emergency services. The first 911 call came from Mr. Robert Martinez, a retired Marine living across the hall, who reported hearing multiple gunshots and a woman screaming. 3 other residents made emergency calls in the next 2 minutes, and local patrol units were dispatched, arriving on the scene at 2:38 p.m. Officers found the apartment door partially open and discovered Nia's body in the living room, approximately 8 feet from the entrance. She had sustained 4 gunshot wounds, 2 to the chest, 1 to the abdomen, and 1 to the right shoulder. Deshawn was found seated on the couch, conscious and alert, with a gunshot wound to his left thigh. The children, who were unharmed in their bedroom, were immediately assessed by responding officers and placed under the temporary care of a police crisis counselor until their maternal grandmother arrived later. Interviews with child specialists revealed that the twins had heard the entire confrontation, but followed their mother's instructions to remain in their room. Deshawn provided an initial statement to responding officers before receiving medical treatment. He claimed that during the argument, Nia retrieved her off-duty weapon and fired at him, grazing his thigh. According to his version, he then drew his service weapon in self-defense and returned fire, asserting that Nia continued to point her weapon at him, forcing him to shoot multiple times. Forensics teams documented the crime scene between 3:15 p.m. and 9:45 p.m., revealing signs of a significant struggle. Investigators found overturned furniture, broken picture frames, and impact marks on the walls. They recovered 8 shell casings, 7 from Deshawn's service weapon and 1 from Nia's firearm. Medical first responders pronounced Nia dead at 2:52 p.m. The preliminary examination by the medical examiner suggested the fatal shots had been fired from a distance of less than 6 feet. Deshawn was transported to a local hospital under police escort to treat his non-life-threatening wound. Within hours of the incident, both families arrived at the scene. Nia's parents, James and Patricia Caldwell, were devastated but focused immediately on the welfare of their grandchildren. Malik Benson, upon receiving news of the shooting, left his conference and drove back to Atlanta, arriving late that evening. Responding officers secured both weapons involved in the incident. Deshawn's department issued Glock 22 and Nia's personal Smith & Wesson shield were logged into evidence and sent for ballistic analysis. Officers also collected Deshawn's phone, which contained numerous text messages and call logs documenting his obsession with Nia's new relationship. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation's forensic team began their detailed analysis on February 20th, 2023, led by senior crime scene analyst Dr. Sarah Chan. Investigators spent 18 hours processing the apartment, documenting evidence that ultimately exposed the calculated nature of Deshawn's actions. Ballistics expert Marcus Rodriguez's analysis was crucial in uncovering the truth. The team found 7 shell casings from Deshawn's weapon, which were grouped in a pattern suggesting he had fired while standing. Blood spatter analysis revealed that Nia had been shot while in a defensive crouch, with her body angled away from the shooter. This directly contradicted Dacian's claim of an aggressive confrontation. The turning point came on February 22nd, when forensic analysis revealed microscopic gunshot residue patterns on Deshawn's wound. The distinct stippling and angle of entry matched typical characteristics of a self-inflicted injury from point-blank range. Dr. Chan's report indicated that the wound was consistent with cases where individuals attempt to stage a self-defense scenario. Security footage from the apartment complex revealed discrepancies in Deshawn's timeline. While he claimed to have arrived at 2:15 p.m., cameras captured him parking at 2:47 p.m. He spent 28 minutes surveilling the area from his car before approaching Nia's apartment. This premeditated behavior significantly undermined his narrative of an unplanned confrontation. Further examination of Nia's firearm revealed crucial evidence. Forensics showed that the single round fired from her weapon occurred after the fatal shots. Residue patterns and bullet trajectory analysis suggested that Deshawn had fired Nia's weapon himself, carefully placing the casing to support his fabricated story. The absence of gunshot residue on Nia's hands conclusively proved she had not discharged a weapon that day. Between February 23rd and March 1st, investigators interviewed 17 residents of the apartment complex. Mrs. Williams, Nia's next-door neighbor, provided important testimony about the sequence of shots, describing a rapid succession of gunfire followed by a significant pause and then a final shot, consistent with Deshawn's attempt to stage the scene. Digital forensics revealed Deshawn's extensive planning. His phone contained deleted searches about gunshot wound characteristics and self-defense laws. Location data showed he had surveilled both Nia's apartment and Malik's business locations in the days leading up to the shooting. Text messages to friends revealed his growing obsession and rage over Nia's relationship with Malik. The investigation also uncovered a journal in Deshawn's home office, documenting his deteriorating mental state, with entries dating back to January 2023. Deshawn's journal showed increasing paranoia and obsession with Nia's movements. The final entry, dated February 18th, contained disturbing details about his plans to make things right, ensuring that if he couldn't have her, no one would. On March 3, 2023, Dr. Victoria Ramirez completed Nia's autopsy. Her report outlined the sequence of shots, confirming that the first bullets struck Nia's chest and abdomen while she was in a defensive stance. The shoulder wound occurred as she fell. The final shot, fired from her own weapon, was inflicted post-mortem, a deliberate attempt to support Deshawn's false narrative. By March 15th, the GBI had gathered overwhelming evidence of premeditated murder. The investigation showed how Deshawn had carefully planned his actions, from choosing a time when Malik would be away to staging the scene to back up his self-defense claim. His manipulation of evidence demonstrated not a man overcome by passion, but one who had meticulously calculated every detail of his deadly plan. The children's statements, obtained through specialized forensic interviews, provided heartbreaking context. Though they were sheltered in their room during the shooting, they recalled their mother's final words, not threats or aggression, as Deshawn claimed, but desperate pleas for him to leave and let her live her life in peace. The state of Georgia versus Deshawn Murphy began on September 12, 2023, in the Fulton County Superior Court. District Attorney Elena Martinez led the prosecution, while defense attorney James Wilson represented Deshawn. Judge Michael Harrison presided over what would become one of the most closely watched cases in Atlanta's recent history. The prosecution's opening statement painted a methodical picture of control, obsession, and premeditated murder. Martinez presented a timeline dating back to early 2022, demonstrating how Deshawn's behavior escalated from controlling to deadly. She emphasized the careful planning visible in his actions on February 19th, describing him not as a man overtaken by passion, but as a calculating killer who staged an elaborate cover-up. Over 3 weeks, the state called 32 witnesses. Dr. Sarah Chin's testimony was especially compelling as she walked the jury through the forensic evidence, using detailed reconstructions and ballistic analysis. She systematically dismantled Deshawn's self-defense claim, and her presentation of the self-inflicted wound evidence drew audible gasps from the courtroom. Former colleagues from the Atlanta Police Department provided key testimony about Deshawn's deteriorating behavior. Lieutenant Rodriguez detailed the department's efforts to intervene in the months leading up to the murder. Several officers described witnessing Deshawn's stalking behavior and expressed regret at not taking stronger action to prevent the tragedy. Malik Benson's testimony on September 20th moved many jurors to tears. He described Nia's growing fear of Deshawn and her struggle to maintain professional boundaries while seeking safety. He shared how the twins, now living with him and his daughter, still woke from nightmares calling for their mother. The defense's strategy, focusing on Deshawn's emotional state and previously unblemished service record, failed to resonate. Wilson attempted to portray his client as a dedicated officer overwhelmed by personal crisis, suggesting the shooting occurred in a moment of emotional breakdown rather than premeditated malice. However, the prosecution's evidence proved insurmountable. Cell phone records showed Deshawn's calculated surveillance, and his internet search history revealed research into staging crime scenes and self-defense claims. The journal entries found in his home office documented his growing obsession and plans for confrontation. On October 3rd, after 4 days of deliberation, the jury returned with their verdict, finding Deshawn Murphy guilty of first-degree murder, obstruction of justice, tampering with evidence, and illegal use of a service weapon. The courtroom fell silent as Judge Harrison prepared to deliver the sentence. During the sentencing hearing, Nia's parents delivered powerful victim impact statements. James Caldwell spoke of his daughter's dedication to law enforcement and her dreams for her children's future. Patricia Caldwell addressed Deshawn directly, asking how he could rob his own children of their mother. Deshawn, maintaining his composure, offered a brief statement expressing remorse, but still claimed he had acted in self-defense. Judge Harrison, noting Deshawn's failure to take responsibility, sentenced him to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole, plus 20 years for the additional charges. The case's impact extended beyond the courtroom. The Atlanta Police Department implemented new protocols for identifying and addressing domestic issues among officers. A foundation established in Nia's name began providing support to law enforcement families facing domestic violence. Malik Benson, granted full custody of Marcus and Maya, focused on helping the children heal with support from both families and the law enforcement community. He worked to create a stable environment where they could process their trauma and cherish positive memories of their mother. 1 year after the verdict, the Atlanta Police Department unveiled a memorial plaque in honor of Nia Caldwell's service. The ceremony, attended by her family, colleagues, and community members, celebrated her legacy while acknowledging the painful lessons learned from her death. Her story became a catalyst for change, prompting departments nationwide to confront the complex issue of domestic violence within law enforcement ranks.